Hi, I'm Danae Shanti, and you have landed at Gather, Love, Thrive. Welcome to today's show. I'm very excited to have my dear friend Cheryl Stegman with me, and I'll introduce her to you in a moment. First, I'd like to give a shout out to New Thought Media Network and our beloved Rev Brez for giving me the opportunity to share Gather, Love, Thrive on his platform. So you see donation links going across the screen. I would love it if you would send some love over to New Thought Media Network and give them a little financial boost and some gratitude. Thanks so much for doing that. And now, please meet my dear friend Cheryl Stegman. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's quite lovely being here.
It is. It's very fun having you here. Yeah. So Cheryl has been on quite a journey in her life, and like most people, has had her bit of struggles here and there, but she's got quite the story to tell. So I'm going to invite you to just the download, right? It's like before we discuss who she is professionally, I just want you to know
what
her
I've been
journey,
through.
The fact that she's even sitting here.
Right.
Yeah. So that. So.
Yeah, I feel pretty fortunate for that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say everything. Mm-hmm. And what I am going to say, people may not even believe because it's pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
But so when I was a young child, I was sexually abused by my father. Mm-hmm. And sort of like when he was done, my grandfather took over. And perpetrators marry victims. So I know my mom was probably sexually abused by her father, which was the one that sexually abused me. I was his favorite child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then also on top of that, he shared stories with me about how he was a pedophile, which was really difficult. And I never knew what to do with that,
Yeah.
So I carried that burden as well, which made me really depressed and suicidal when I started getting into dating age, because all that, sort of came up. So there was that hurdle that I carried really well into my adult life.
Yeah.
And
let me just say, you didn't know yet, you didn't have the language to know yet that you were sensitive and empathic and that you could carry other people's energy. Would that be true?
No, I had no idea.
You had no idea.
I actually didn't know that I was an empath until I was at Rudolf Steiner College when I was 35. Because I'm from North Dakota and we don't talk about things like that.
Yeah. So please go ahead. I wanted to point that out because a lot of people don't have this frame of reference.
Right. They don't.
They just go through so much and feel so horrible, but they don't necessarily know why.
Right.
All the components.
That's a really good point because I was so empathic, people around me would be depressed and then I would be depressed because of the whole frequency thing.
Sure.
I would pick up on their emotions and I had no idea. I just thought it was all mine.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So you survived that, which is miraculous.
Right.
And then
it was. Then I have had 4 pretty major head injuries. What makes that significant is that it got to the point where my left and right hemispheres weren't communicating with each other. And so I would have these ideas, but I couldn't say them.
Oh, wow.
And so as a preschool teacher, talking to my parents, and even if I had the notes written down, I couldn't remember where I was in the lecture that I was given. So that was a pretty huge hurdle. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. Right.
Huge. It's like being 2 different people in one head, so to speak. Without those
no person in the head, actually.
Wow.
Really no person. And, and we can talk later about how I overcame each one of these. And then being a single parent in North Boulder, if it's just so expensive to live there. And
yeah, you and I have been through a heck of a journey in that particular area.
Yeah, we both know what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's my cancering process.
Huge.
Yeah, right.
Huge.
That metastatic stage 4 cancer, and I had tumors in my liver and my lungs, in my hip, and my lymph nodes. The mother tumor was in my breast, and then a couple of tumors in my spine.
And I want to interject here that, we're going to talk about that journey. And cancer has such a stigma to it, right? Like you hear the word cancer and everyone gets petrified.
Right.
And I remember coming to you, we met at a coffee shop and we were sitting and talking. And I remember that I needed to confess and clear out of my thinking that I was afraid of losing you to cancer. And that to me was monumental because I love you and I want to support you. And I was like, and I know how empathic you are. I didn't even want you feeling an ounce of projection for me of my fear that I might lose you. And that was dramatic enough for me. But what stunned me, though I shouldn't have been shocked because you're so you, what stunned me was your answer. Do you remember what you said?
I mean, what I said to everybody is that I'm not going to die from this cancer.
Yeah. You were like, you're just sipping on your cup of job and you're like, that thought never entered my mind. I'm not dying from this. This is a transformation of consciousness.
Right. Yeah.
And that set up such a learning curve for me to view it that way. And then you went on this entire journey, which I would love for us to talk about because you even wrote this book, right? Not in the way, on the way.
Right.
And so just share with us about the cancering journey and why you're sitting here. How are you sitting here?
Well, I
so
just
healthy and well. Yeah.
I just want to make sure people understand that I have no cancer in my body right now. I actually went from stage 4 to cancer free in 13 months.
Yeah.
So I was told that I was treatable, but not curable. And that I would always be on some sort of main medical model treatment. Yeah. And like you, I mean, I'm very alternative. So when I went through my whole list of stuff, like the head injuries and stuff, I did biofeedback. I didn't go through the doctor or anything like that. All these things, because I didn't have the resources. Many of us don't have the resources. And so I would have to figure out these different ways. I had a heat stroke that almost killed me.
Right.
And so as a single parent in North Boulder, I didn't have the resources to go to the doctor or do all that sort of stuff that you do. So I had to do alternative stuff to heal the damage to my heart and things like that.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to insert something here because we've known each other a very long time. And I have memories of journeys you've been on that as yet you haven't mentioned, but I'm going to throw one in.
Okay.
Was it that your appendix burst?
Oh, right.
You were in somewhere overseas.
I was in Jamaica.
You were in Jamaica, and of all places, your appendix bursts.
There, yeah.
There. You end up in the hospital there.
Right.
And you're not getting any rest. Not only are you not getting rest, there's some dynamics going on with judgment and opinions and the staff in the hospital, and you're in survival. There's no one there to help you, and you are being kept from sleeping and being ridiculed in the middle of it all.
Right. I hadn't fully recovered from the anesthesia, and Jamaican hospitals are very different than American hospitals.
Sure. And we're not dissing Jamaica or Jamaica's people.
Not. I'm alive. I'm so grateful to that hospital.
But just the predicaments that you have survived is what I'm pointing towards.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And the nurse's station was right there. There was no air conditioning. It was a ward that served people with ankle injuries to mine, which was an appendectomy, which they actually didn't sew up because it had burst and they wanted the toxins to be able to, seep out. There was only 2 stitches and they wouldn't come and help me get up to go to the bathroom. Yeah. Because I said, can you turn that music down somewhere in the middle of the night? Because when they get done with their day, they set up a table outside my door and play cards and party, which, okay.
Not when you need sleep to heal. And the reason I'm bringing this up again is not a judgment against anyone anywhere, but I marvel because I know you so well and I've watched you go through so much. I marvel at the circumstances you in particular happen to find yourself in.
I know.
That are like, they're bizarre.
Yeah.
They're like anomalies.
Yeah.
And I attribute that to the strength of who you are as a being. You had so much capacity.
That so reminds me of a story when, okay, I'm a little preschool teacher. You know, I mean, I've been a preschool teacher for a while. I'm a Waldorf preschool teacher. We wear these, dresses and we're very kind. And we are, authentically, we are this. And then I go on this trip to Africa and I'm on an airline that's going out of business and they drop us in Senegal and 8 hours pass, and I think, what would my aunt do? And I start rallying people to protest. So we start protesting to get on our next leg of our flight.
Yeah.
And in Abidjan, we get dumped and I start getting us to protest right away. And at one point, a police officer went to the military guy and said, she's the cause of all this. All this protesting. And when I was told that, I said, well, if they come for me, just surround me. Yeah. So I have had a really odd, strenuous, very strenuous life and really having to pull from my own resources.
Yes.
Because other resources really weren't available. And now as I'm sitting in this chair here, I understand why. And it sort of makes sense.
So speak to that, because I'm sure a lot of people watching right now are like, why is she even upright? So yeah.
Well, first of all, I really came in with a very strong sense of freedom, of really needing to be free. And we, in these bodies, we have a lot of our parents in us, right? We have our heritage in us. And a scientific term for that is epigenetics.
Yeah.
And so that epigenetics, we never know when our genes are going to express and turn on that are left from our family line. And those actually control us. And each one of these traumas has helped me overcome that epigenetic and really step into who I am as an individual. And, I think that is really a part of it. And now for me, I have to really master something before I'm willing to share it.
Yeah. And I think that's the best way to go. You need to know that something works thoroughly and completely before you start offering with other people. I want to go back to the cancering journey a little bit, because I know I've watched you take yourself through so much to heal and be upright and cancer-free and all that. But that wasn't an easy journey either. And there's so many people dealing with cancer. So before we talk about the tools you use, because you had to self-resource, share a little bit more about the cancering. I love that you said cancering. I almost never heard you say, I have cancer. I heard you say, I'm on a cancering journey.
Yeah.
Speak to that.
Well, I'm not quite sure what you're asking, but I do know that we're pretty much trained to be victims from the very beginning of our life here on Earth. Yeah. And, blaming the child is for doing something wrong, for spilling milk or something like that is the beginning of it. The fact that we love to sue other people as adults, we continue with that, I'm being sued, I'm the victim. I'm suing that person, I've been victimized by them, rather than taking responsibility. So all these things that I've been through, I have learned how to become responsible for what I put myself in, because the list is just too big. Yeah. It's just too much for it to be an accident. So it's this training. And so I really felt like the cancering process was another process of me being trained to step very deeply into myself. And from that, because I was on the edge of life, chemotherapy, and again, I must say, I was really, really alternative. So for me to listen to my higher self and do chemo, that was
That was huge. That was huge.
It was really, really huge.
Yeah.
Not only for myself, but for all my friends who knew who I was.
Yes. Yeah.
And they just were shocked that I did chemo.
Yeah. And Western medicine has its place.
It does.
I wouldn't be here talking to you if I hadn't done Western medicine as well. So we're not knocking that either.
No, we're not.
It's just when we're talking about the nature of how we've designed ourselves as souls incarnating, the plan we've set ourselves up for to take our human selves through, that's the orientation, right?
Yeah,
and having that discernment, you said, your higher self, and I use the word guidance, the discernment of being able to ask and listen.
Right.
And for me, the hero formula gets me through that, right? That's like, who are you at the time? What is your predicament? How do you ask for help? Who are you asking for help? What are you asking help from?
Right.
From whom? And it always ultimately is our own self.
Right.
And you're using the terminology, your higher self.
Right.
And I love that. So so you went to your higher self and you got the answer, yes, go with chemo.
Yeah.
You did a lot more than that though.
Yes, I did. And the point of that is that we have this ego, that's very human. The whole clay feet thing, we're in this body. And I had to really fight my ego to really fully listen to my higher self, which is, so connected with God, right? Yeah. It's like this direct megaphone, God speaking through the higher self
Yes, right. Love that.
Yeah. So, what?
So where are we now? So we're talking about how you were willing to listen to your higher self, even though it went against your ego's point of view. Right. You heard time for chemo, time for other modalities, aside from the tools you used, which we're going to get to. Right. Those can be helpful to lots of people.
Right. Yeah. So I did the 6 chemos. And while I was doing chemos, I also was doing vitamin C infusions to help wash out the chemo that wasn't needed and Myers cocktail. And I also sought out counseling. I did counseling to help keep me updated, to help keep me in tune with myself, because it's a little confusing. And we need coaches at times in our life.
Yes.
And so I definitely employed coaches to help me through it and to not look at cancer as something that was attacking me yes, it tries to take over your body.
Sure.
And I sort of viewed it as these little children that were lost and wouldn't let go. Wouldn't let go. And so they kept on duplicating and not letting go. And so I would just imagine them going through this line of going into the light and into the hands of God and, and then being able to recycle in a healthy way and come through. Yeah. And then, of course, after my 6 chemos, it's a big story and I'm not going to get into it, but going to doing, it's called DCT, dendritic cell therapy, which at that time was only done in Cayman Islands. And it's a personalized cancer immunotherapy where they took my tumor before I did any chemo, took my tumor and made an inoculation against my cancer.
Wow. From your own body. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. The body wisdom, wanting to heal itself.
Right. Yes. And so I really feel that saved my life. Yeah, I really do. And being able to be afforded the ability to go to Cayman and rest in the sun and be in the water while I had that treatment, which, by the way, is only 1 injection in each leg. I mean, you can go there, get injected and leave the next day. People don't have to stay. It's that quick. Yeah. And by the way, now it's being offered in South Carolina. I have excellent. I talk to a lot of people that have cancer and so one of the people I talk to is in process right now.
That's amazing. I want to point this out because I want to get to your tools. I don't hold my own book up, but I'm going to hold yours up because it's just imperative that we do this. A lot of the details are in here. the whole journey, how you got through it, what happened, everything, because I don't want people to miss these resources that you're referring to.
Okay.
So just, we can know that it's in the book, and we'll give the book info at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's understandable. All of that, you know, people could find the similar modalities that you talked about, but you have a whole basket of goodies of self-resourcing and tools that you use to steer yourself internally, psychically, energetically, which also impacts the physical. So, lay some of those lay some of those on me.
Okay. So I think one of the biggest tools, well, they're all really big, but it is, if you're in reaction, it's about you. So, I mean, the gift of that, and again, it's a beginning level of taking responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
So the gift is if someone has triggered you, made you mad, and legitimately they may have done something that was really out of alignment with your relationship. But if you're in reaction, you can't talk about it as an adult until you deal with your reaction. Right. And so on the heels of that, okay, so I'm in reaction. And then the next tool I'll go to, I call tune in, tap, and blow.
Okay, so give a demo.
Okay.
Let's have a demo.
All right. Well, and here's the fun thing about tune in, tap, and blow. You don't even need to tell me what you're reactive about. Okay? So think of a thing that you have a charge.
Yeah, I have it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so give it a number in between 1 and 10.
Of how much of a charge I have around it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 7.
A 7. Okay. So I'm going to ask, so just so everybody can see this.
We'll face this camera.
Okay.
The middle
and
camera.
So I want you to hold up your arm. No, the one I can tell.
Reach over there. Okay.
Okay. And first I'm going to just ask, give me a yes. And now give me a no. It's very close.
Yeah.
It's very close. So I'm just going to do this. Okay. Yes. Okay. And no.
Wow.
There we go. Big difference.
Huge.
Yeah. I just worked with the torsion in your field because, anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into a lot of details. Right. So now think of the thing and hold up your arm and resist. Okay. So let's tune in. We're asking your higher self to tune into that. All right. Tune into it. Tune into it. Down to the neuron. Okay, you got it. Now tap. Eyes open. It's more fun that way. Tap.
It's more fun. And blow. Tap and blow.
Yeah. Okay, so just a couple of taps is all. I'm sure it's right by the microphone. So it's
yeah.
Yeah. Do you see that release? Do you feel that?
I feel it.
Yeah.
I actually feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what being an empath is really great about because I totally feel that.
Yeah. And you see it also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think of that thing and now give it a number.
It's hard to give it a number. I'm between 0 and 1.
Okay. Now let's show everybody. Okay. Think of the thing.
Okay.
Resist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rock solid.
Rock solid.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's sort of like and you can do this for yourself.
It's a tool.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All you have to do is ask your operating system, which is your higher self.
Yeah.
Which is the godlike nature that lives within you. You ask your higher self to tune into it. And you may not know what it feels like when you've got it. But your higher self has it and you trust it. And if you can muscle test yourself, you know, you can show yourself that you've got it or you don't have it.
Yeah.
And then you just tap and blow it out. And this is based on the principle that we are essentially water, like depending on who you talk to, anywhere from 76 to 90% water, right? And then we have an electromagnetic body and we have an operating system.
Yeah.
And so there's resistances that get set up because of emotional disturbances, resistances, reactions, and all that sort of stuff.
Ego stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Survival stuff. Yeah.
And it can be our own. It can be epigenetic. It can be from our culture. It doesn't really matter. The point is that easy.
Yeah.
To release it.
Yeah. What I noticed in that little exercise was I wasn't processing it mentally.
No.
I wasn't analyzing it. I wasn't getting to the emotional material. It's just like, oh, got it.
And that's all that's ego.
Yeah.
Needing to process, all that stuff is just the ego wanting to have its say in the matter.
In the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we are such powerful beings. Now, I mean, the cool thing about this technique is you can really, attune yourself with your phone. It's just not emotional stuff, right? You can actually get rid of pretty deep traumas. You can attune yourself with your phone. You can attune yourself with 5G. There's nothing we need to be afraid of.
Yeah, that's exactly what a lot of people are really hot on the topic of 5G and the idea that we're being microwaved. And
Right.
So literally anything in your life can be addressed.
Yes.
So we only have a few minutes left. Tell me about some other tools, or do you use affirmations or words that are life-giving?
Yeah, so let's say like when I was coming in for this interview, I wanted to have my energy up. And so I'll use happy words. Yeah. So some of my happy words are vivacious and stellar and cheerfully confident, fabulous, sparkling, joyfully jubilant, euphorically elated,
happy words.
Like, really happy words. They actually change the level of joy within the body. And just using those words can shift your energy.
Totally. This is really wonderful. Like if you find yourself in a grumble, for me, it took a lot of work for me to sit in the host chair, right? Like I went through a whole hero formula thing just to get myself to feel like I had the capacity to sit here. And that was a couple of shows back. The speaking of the words is not just rote.
Right.
It's a speaking, you're engaging, you're bringing to life the living energy of that, what you speak.
Yes, right.
All the time. So if we're grumbly and we continue to complain and whine and speak in a grumbly way, we're bringing ourselves down.
Right.
And then if we do that exercise, bring in the happy words, we rise to that as well.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is really, really brilliant.
Yeah.
I know we talk, yes.
It's being more mindful of not only what we say, what we think. Being more mindful as beings, you know.
Right.
And you and I could do hours and hours and hours of a show together. And we've got this 30-minute slot, which is careening to its end. So do you have any wrap-up thoughts or words or something to share with us that we can go away with our little goodie bag?
Yeah. So with my Waldorf background and Rudolf Steiner, one of the things that he said is striving is the greatest gift we can give ourselves and our children. Because we all have clay feet. We're all in a body. We all make mistakes. I'm still learning and growing. You're still learning and growing.
Yeah.
And how wonderful is that?
Yeah.
How wonderful is that? But striving, and I think that is what's gotten me through my whole life. I've just being from North Dakota and it being so cold in the harsh winters, striving is really important there. And that's just carried through my whole life.
It's also exciting when you're striving, you're giving yourself something to look forward to and something to reach. Yeah, it keeps you young.
Right.
It keeps your vitality looking on the horizon for what's next.
Right.
What's next?
Right.
Who can I unfold into now?
Absolutely.
Right? So perpetual growing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that you came today. Thank you so much. Yay.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story.
Oh my goodness. I like we know we could do hours, especially with the life you've lived, but you gave us something to start with and then people can follow through. If they want more Cheryl, they can grab hold of your book, which I hope that everyone does. I'm so grateful we got to have Cheryl on today, and I hope you will follow through and learn more about her journey and how it can support you in yours. And we'll have her book and the link to get her book at the end during the very, very end of this show, visually for you to make it easy. In the meanwhile, you see scrolling New Thought Media Network and a way to make a donation to them if you would be so kind. We're really grateful that they're able to put these kinds of shows out in the world and share the good news. If you'd like to learn more about me or my book, Wise Inside, which helps you access your inner guidance and intuition, you can find that at DanaeShantiThrive.live. Thanks for hanging out with us today, and we'll see you next time.